Welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Zone. I'm your co-host, Tom Spitalere. Hey, Bob, welcome back. How we doing, Bob?
We're doing great tonight. Got a great guest coming on.
We do. The Paranormal Zone is set up to discuss all different realms of the paranormal, from UFO, UAP, to ghosts, to Bigfoot, to Wiccan, to witchy stuff. And tonight is no different. We have a very good guest coming on tonight. Emily Valerio from Witchy Well, based out of Manchester, New Hampshire. And this is going to be a very interesting conversation tonight. We've had Wiccans on before, and they've led us down different paths, and it's been very interesting. I have a funny feeling this is going to go into a very interesting conversation based on the bio I saw today. So without further ado, welcome, Emily, and how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here chatting with you both tonight.
So why don't you give our listeners a brief bio of who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into the questions.
Yeah, sounds good. So I started my professional life as a high school English teacher. I took a little pivot and went to pharmacy school. I'm a licensed pharmacist practicing in New Hampshire right now. And then I took another pivot into the world of the unknown, the world of woo-woo and wonder and curiosity and mystery. And that's the world of the witch. And I like to think, I was, at least a part of me has been in this space my whole life and certainly before this life. But it was just sort of a coming home to who I was, to step into this role. And it's allowed me to integrate some of the experiences that I've had, as a teacher, as a healthcare practitioner, and as someone who is open to mystery, to the unknown, to spirit, to energy, to find a way to integrate it all to really help people find their own inner strength, their own inner magic, their own calling in this life. So my company really is dedicated to helping people find that magic that we all have, of people's strengths, their gifts. I started that work with so my own journey involved a weight loss journey. I was about 75 pounds overweight. I was obese. And the sort of irony is that I was counseling folks all day, every day in my role as a pharmacist on, taking weight loss injectable medications. But when it came time for me to lose weight and have my own path, I decided not to do that. And instead, I really kind of tried to focus on finding greater balance in my life, finding alignment, finding the sweetness that my soul was craving. And so that was the impulse for my holistic health coaching company. Focus not on telling people what to do, what to eat and what not to eat, how to move and how not to move, but instead really helping people figure out their strengths and what they wanted for their life, what they felt called to do in this wild and precious life we have, and then finding the energy and the motivation to have a shift in consciousness and to really go after it. Because I think deep down, we all know what we want and need. But sometimes it's hard to figure it out unless we have we have someone ask us.
And, one of the things, Emily, that we find pretty consistent with the people that we talk on the Paranormal Zone, witches and paranormal investigators, mediums, and so forth, and they all have a gift. I've defined for years now that what we experience is a gift given to us, and frankly, not given to everybody. I think it's available to everybody, but not everybody takes advantage of it. But let me ask you this question. When, at approximately what age did you realize that you had that gift?
It's funny because I have memories of being a kid, and asking my dad if we can imagine something, but it can't exist, then, why do we have the capacity to imagine it, right? And I remember early on having that sense of wonder, right? If it's within our capacity to consciously envision something, why couldn't we be able to manifest it? I didn't have those words. I didn't have the ability to articulate it in that way as a child. But I remember having those conversations. And, I think I'm not alone in stifling my curiosity, stifling my wonder for a long time, because it was inconvenient, because it didn't fit in with other people. So there were a lot of years of me kind of burying and masking and not allowing myself to be my full weird. And then it was really, I'm sure other folks can relate, but it was really last year. It was early last year that I had no choice but to explore it and to really allow it to grow, to blossom. And so I can't wait to hear how you both describe your gifts. But for me, it really, my gift manifests as an ability to help someone find their gifts. That's what I love. I love helping people find their particular strengths and their passion. So that's kind of my witchy gift. But I would love to hear about your respective gifts, how you describe them.
Yeah, and Witchy and Well started as a business for you. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And do you get good reception from people that connect the two, the pharmacist and the witch?
It's funny. I'll be totally candid. It's been slow to grow in terms of people wanting one-on-one coaching or even coming to my classes. I think there is still skepticism. There's still like, what is this? But where I found my niche is within the world of holistic healers and practitioners. And so, where I've kind of found my footing is in building a community and fostering a community of people who are doing work sort of in this space, who are doing energy healing, who are doing, coaching, who are looking at, I know, like medical intuitives, right? So many really fascinating people that a friend and I have built a community to support. And that's really where I've been putting my energy most recently, is in supporting the people who are doing that work that I wasn't so successful in building a business around. It's funny how the universe works. You never know where you're going to find your footing.
Well, that's very true. And Tom and I have done many shows over the last year with witches, and of course the Salem witch trials, which was a very dark period in our history, unfortunately, always comes into the narrative. But what I don't think people really understand is that even back in those days, what was defined as witches were really healers. They just used a much different practice of healing. And it took, unfortunately, many, many years for people to understand this. Because I believe, Emily, please comment on this, but I believe witches are more natural healers than some, and I underline some, physicians.
Yeah, I think probably, I like to think there are as many different people within the world of the witch as there are, people within the world of people. But I do think that there tends to be a sort of a gravitation toward communion with nature, right? To working with nature, and as an ally, as a mentor, as a teacher. I think one of the things that I like to think about is in Western culture, we often get into the habit of commodifying, of exploiting, of using. Right, we use medicine. We take a pill. Right, it's kind of this extractive process, this one way relationship. But I suspect, I can only speak for myself, but I think, I like to think of the idea of reciprocity, right? When I think about a tea, like making a tea or a tincture or, growing an herb, it's a two-way relationship. We have this great gift to nurture the allies that we work with, to grow them, to appreciate them, to love them, and then they support us too. And so, to drink a tea, to work with, to work with an herb, it then becomes this really beautiful partnership and collaboration. So, have you had similar kind of conversations with other witches you've had on?
We have, Tom, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and again, what we've learned over the year, I think, Tom, and you comment, please, Tommy, but I think we've learned that within the study of witchcraft, there are different types of witches, like there is in all walks of life, correct? I think people tend to want to paint paranormal investigators, witches, mediums, all with one brush, and what they don't understand is that we're all very much different.
Correct.
And
Exactly.
as our witches, and we've heard just so many great things about witches. As a matter of fact, I'd like to think that we may have cracked the code, because if you'll notice on this podcast, we don't have call-ins, Emily. And that was, a conscious decision we made, because our listeners request witches all the time from us. They want more of them on. But they want to hear your story, and they don't want to hear people calling up with comments or negative comments or positive comments, because it's really your story. And each individual, especially with witches, has a different story to tell.
Yeah, it's so true.
I mean,
so true.
It is. There are many different stories to tell, but it seems like the witches we've interviewed are the Wiccans, the psychic mediums, some of the investigators, and even myself, as you had asked earlier, when did this all start? It all started when we were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple. I mean, you just said it. You blocked yours when you were a kid. So did most of us. I mean, I'm a channeler. Imagine me channeling in high school in the 1990s.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't going to work out too well.
Right. It's entirely sort of like as we integrate our trauma, right? So, I mean, I think so often these gifts do come from traumatic experiences that we're able to sort of learn and grow and heal through. And then, on the other end, it's our gift, it's our offering.
Yeah. See, I don't know where some abilities came from, but it seems like both my mother and father's side of the family had some sort of abilities that they kind of hid from the world. Yeah. I just decided to come out from hiding behind the wall.
Tom, I think what has happened, depending on the age here, is that if you go back 30 years ago, let's use that as a benchmark, think about what parents did to condition children. If you said, I think I saw a ghost in my room, what was the first thing your parents said to you?
Man, there's
no such thing as ghosts.
That's exactly.
Right? If you were a medium, and I've worked with the same medium for 20 years, so I know her well. As a child at 6 to 10 years of age, her family was constantly trying to, sit on her gift, that she didn't have it, that she was just dreaming. She was this. So unfortunately, we conditioned our children 30, 40 years ago that way. I think today it's changing a little bit. Emily, we said, you sound much younger than I am, but years when I was a kid, a female could not be a cop.
Mm-hmm.
A male couldn't be a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all we said to our children, right? Was, you can't be a cop, you're a female. Well, you can't be a nurse, you're a male. And finally, we broke that glass ceiling. And unfortunately, a lot of people, Tom, had the gift, you're absolutely right, but it was stifled, not intentionally, I don't think, but by mistake, because we weren't open-minded enough back then to do that. And I'm wondering, Emily, did you experience that as a child?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about how trauma, I think, is a big part of a lot of our experience. So for me, I disconnected from the spiritual part of my being because my dad was a very spiritual person. He had had his own spiritual awakening, but for a lot of my childhood, he was not a safe person for me. So I cut myself off from that whole aspect of my identity. It took a long time to come back to it, to sort of to appreciate who he is and who I am. So it takes a lot of work sometimes to get to that point where we can really embrace our multitude.
All right. So just quickly, tell our listeners, because I want you to mention this, if you would, Emily, many times throughout this podcast. We offer our listeners really a couple of different options. One is for you to give out your information for them to reach you direct. We have guests that prepare that they go through our email process, and we forward that on to you. So this podcast is really meant for you to get your message out there, but it's also meant to hook up our listeners with contact information so they can reach you. So if you'd like, I give out my email address all the time. I'm willing to take the emails and forward them to you. Or you have the option of putting out your information a couple times throughout this podcast so they can reach you directly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share my email address. So right now I'm not taking one-on-one clients, but I am always I'm always welcoming and encouraging people who are who are curious, who feel they're maybe a little bit witchy, who feel like they have a gift. I have a holistic practitioners collaborative that I meet with. My friend Lee and I started this group together. We meet monthly, and it's free to join. But if someone feels like they maybe have a gift that they want to share, especially a gift that involves some kind of holistic healing or spiritual healing work, you can email me at Emily, EMILY, at witchyandwell.com. That's WITCHYAND, WELL.com. So yeah, I encourage anybody who feels called to this type of work. You don't have to have your gift fully figured out yet. I think that's part of the beauty of our community. So many people are putting together the many parts of who they are to figure out what their unique offering is. Because it's, we really are all unique. The gift that you have is different from the gift that I haven't. And we come to the language to define it at different times and in different ways.
Now, you said you meet monthly. So do you meet monthly in New Hampshire? In person?
Yeah.
Or is it
in person? Right now, it's only in person, as we've been meeting in Amesbury most recently, though we sometimes meet in other places. For example, in November, we'll meet at a yoga studio in Newburyport. One of our members is offering a yoga nidra session for the group. So occasionally we'll have off-site meetings, but generally we're in Amesbury in a business park. And again, I'm happy to provide that information for folks who email and, feel called to participate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But that's just, I'm so impressed with people like yourself, Emily, that are willing to share and educate people that really, when you think about becoming a witch, I'm guessing from what I've heard, it's very difficult for a young individual to know where to go to begin. Obviously, we're all aware of the internet, but again, this is a personal decision that you're making, and I think that you want to try to make that with consultants like yourself that have experienced that.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest gifts that I've been given is being sleep. Having someone, I think that like books were the first most powerful, start of my journey. There's so much to read and learn, from books, and there are great podcasts out there. There's so much great content that you can kind of take in and learn from on your own time. But I think the thing that's really allowed me to continue on and grow my magic, and I'm going to call it that because that's what it is, to grow my magic, is finding people who see me for my fully weird, witchy, wonderful self and can see,
I love it.
see what I have to offer.
I love it. That's great.
Now, that makes a lot of great sense.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. So do you do anything from a telehealth point of view, Emily? Do people call in and talk to you?
So I had a couple of telehealth meetings with people, but it's not my preference. Some people that totally works. I really love, and that's going to sound crazy, but I love hugging people. I love giving people a squeeze. I like being in person with folks. For me, that's my preference.
Wait a minute. Put the brakes on a second, Emily. Put the brakes on. Wow.
What is it?
We're going back in time here because it seems like today that's all people want to do is the internet, Zoom, Zah. I'm one of those people when I have meetings, I don't like doing phone meetings. I hate Zoom meetings. I'm the in-person type. Wow, we just put the brakes on today.
Well, I do agree that people, I think, have gotten away from, because of the internet, have gotten away from one-on-one contact. And I think it's sad in a lot of different areas. Mediums today, Emily, are going more to teleconferencing and Zoom-type readings. And I wonder, I get the idea, I understand why, but I wonder, Emily, if that's going to have an adverse effect 5 or 6 or 8 years from now. Because the mediums that Tom and I have worked with over 20 years have been one-on-one mediums. They've met with people. And I think you just said something that really got my attention. You said, I like to squeeze, I like to hug people, I like to be in front of them and know them. That is so important to me for that contact.
Yeah. We don't get hugged enough collectively.
Yeah.
We're starved for it.
And it shows compassion and understanding, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the world of the witch is it's a sensory experience as much as it is a spiritual experience, right? I think as a witch, I really try to, for me, it's all equally important: mind, body, heart, and soul. And, I think our bodies crave that sensation, right? We want to see, touch, smell, taste. We want all of it. And I think being on screens, we're not getting that proprioception, that touch, it's part of the beauty of being a soul and a body, right? We get to feel.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, what do doctors do with the birth of a child? The first thing they do is hand it to the mother.
Exactly.
I mean, hours after birth, maybe some minutes after birth, because the connectivity between the two begins right then and there, even though that child has just came into the world. So there is a whole, in my opinion, there's a whole thing going on there about connectivity with people.
Yes. Oh, definitely. There are so many ways of perceiving, I think, that we haven't been able to really quantify or qualify yet. So many ways of perceiving. And I think some of those are much more acute or just in the same physical space.
Right.
Sort of like, light is a particle and a wave, right? I think, sometimes the energy we're picking up on is just stronger in person.
All right. All right. Emily, do you find that religion enters into, I affectionately call it witchcraft? We see this in the paranormal all the time, that religion will bump into it. I did a presentation Saturday night, and interestingly enough, one of the participants in the audience brought up the fact that how does paranormal investigative work with spirits bump up against religion? And I said, I could get off on this and talk hours about it because it's a whole process. But how does religion enter into witchcraft?
So really good question. So, I love this question. When I think about religion, it's a structure, right? It's a structure. There are rules, there is dogma, and I've heard you mention the word Wicca. So I don't identify as Wiccan. Wiccan is a religion. There are rules, there is structure there, and again, even within the world of Wicca, there are many different paths you can take. I think it's sort of one of those things where all Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccan.
Yeah, we've heard this.
Yeah, you can be a witch and take the path of a kind of a more structured approach to working with magic, and be a part of a religion like that. I think the barrier so often when talking about paranormal or spirit or any of it is just our language. I think so often we're brushing up on the same ideas. We just have different names, we have different labels, we have different words that we're using to describe the same sorts of phenomena. I think, when we're able to enter into these really powerful, beautiful conversations, we find, we have so much common ground. And I think that's what I strive for. I welcome whatever your axioms are, whatever your languages, your labels, whatever your beliefs are, they're all welcome in the world of the witch. Let's just be curious about each other and grow together in a mutual curiosity and desire to connect.
Yeah. And I would hope, Tom, that more people would take the same attitude that Emily just took. There's so much in this world that we should learn, and so much that we need to understand that we don't today. And older generations, and Emily, I will tell you that I'm 77, so I'm as old as Garrett. But my generation really walked through life with blinders on. We really did. We walked through life for the last 50 years just doing what we were told by not only religion, education, a lot of things.
Yes.
And people like you are breaking that barrier. People like witches and paranormal investigators and mediums, and they're breaking down the barrier and forcing people to think. And that's all we're about, is just think. Make your own decisions. Go find out, because I think witches are a very strong religious type group, albeit they may see things different than we do, but they still have that feeling, especially towards nature. And some people have towards, let's say, the Catholic Church, for example. And to me, we should understand all of that. So when we make our decisions, which direction we're going, we have all that evidence.
Yeah, it is. It is such a privilege. It is such a pleasure to learn from each other.
Yeah. I would love to attend one of your sessions.
Oh, I would love for you to come. Oh, anytime.
Really?
Yeah, anytime.
I would love that. I would be very silent, just listen, but I would just love to be a part of that. I think I've never had that opportunity. And by the way, a lot of the witches we've had on have certainly been open to that, albeit, as you well know, lots of witches want to remain anonymous. We had a radio show in Portsmouth, New Hampshire for many years. And one of the things when we brought witches on, they always choose different names, which on radio, it doesn't matter. But one of the reasons they would tell me is because they were school teachers, so they were nurses who, in a professional field where they weren't comfortable with people knowing who they were. And I thought, isn't that sad? that you need to cover that up. You should be proud. We should be, proud to know witches. I think witches are a very special group of people, personally. Because of their beliefs and the way that they treat nature and the way they treat naturalists. So it's interesting to me that I see it now opening up a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in this really beautiful moment and in our kind of like in our timeline where we don't have the fear to the same degree that we've had it in the past, right? There have been so many people taking the courageous leaps to move us collectively forward so that when we do find people who are different, who are weird, who are, off the beaten path, that we're not, and again, we're still working toward this, but we're doing better now than we ever have at not at least causing physical harm, right? I don't walk around right now worried that I'm going to be hanged. And so just that letting go, that release of physical fear allows me to feel like I can share who I am a little bit more than perhaps if I had been born, 100 years ago.
Right. I'm going to introduce you to a witch we had on about 6 months ago. I believe her name, Tom, was Reverend Mother Mary. Is that correct, Tom?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, I have it in my notes, Emily, and I will get to I mentioned her, Emily, because she is now doing a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's one of the most aggressive out there witches I have ever met. I mean, she just got the best handle on how to get this out. And one of the things she told Tom and I in the podcast was that she is anything but, a star or looking to be a star. What she's doing is using that media as a voice to get other witches to say, hey, it's time to come out. It's time to educate.
Yeah.
It's time to unveil everything.
Exactly.
So I'm going to get you her information because she's very receptive to talking to many people about it. I think you'd find her very interesting. I've had the pleasure over the last 6 or 7 months of chatting with her offline a number of times, and she's just an amazing woman, I'll tell you. She really is.
I love that.
Yeah, I will get that for you. I just made a note.
Oh, good. I appreciate that.
That's okay. My pleasure.
Yeah, I think it's so lovely to hear about people doing that work because, yeah, I think the more we can all hold space for other folks to step into their gifts, the more we all benefit from those gifts. And then it just grows, right? It's incredible.
Right. I agree with that.
Collectively, we
And
have
there a book
courage.
in your future, Emily?
What was that?
I say, is there a book in your future?
Oh, well, I have written one already, but certainly there are more to come.
Oh, what's the name of the book?
You have the book published?
It's self-published. It's called The Pharmacist Witch's Grimoire, A Practical Guide to Being Your Own Soul Medicine.
Okay. So if you could send that to Tom and I offer on our podcast once a month. We do book reviews of everything paranormal, we call it. So
fun.
we have a book. If you'd send us, you don't have to send us a hard copy. You can email me a copy if it's easier. We read it and discuss it. Tom and I do kind of like a review. Obviously, we're kind of slanted, so we always give a 5-star review. But yeah, don't tell our listeners that. We did that. No. But anyway, we do the review, and then we bring you on a week or two later to actually discuss the book itself.
Oh, what a kind thing that you're doing to raise the voices, to amplify the voices of people who are taking those leaps. That's amazing.
Well, it accomplishes a lot of goals. First of all, we think we're here, Tom and I, to educate and also to entertain. But
Yeah.
people will constantly send us emails saying, where can I read about this? Where can I find out about this? Because I think there's people, Emily, like the three of us, that don't want to just look online. I think there's people who want to read about it.
Right. Yeah.
So do me a favor right now. Would you give us your book, the title of your book name again?
Yeah, absolutely. It's called The Pharmacist Witch's Grimoire, a practical guide to being your own soul medicine. And listeners can find it for free as a PDF on my website, or if you want a hard copy, it's also on Amazon.
Wow, that's great. What is your website?
Witchyandwell.com.
Okay, witchyandwell.com. Okay, so I hope our listeners wrote that down. You can find this book on there, right? And once they get your book, they can then maybe send you an email and comment on the book and give you some feedback.
Sure, absolutely. I certainly welcome it all.
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom, we've got a schedule to review this book in October.
Yes, we need to do that for sure.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get our production people to schedule that for us for October. Anyway, we're happy to do that for you. I think that's great. I'm really happy.
That's so generous of you. I so appreciate that.
No, we look forward
listen, anything to move the cause along here. So.
Yes, and we look forward to that.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Because we're kind of weird too, so.
Well, I love that we're embracing that word, Yeah.
Weird.
Beautiful.
I embrace that word every day of the week.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's a fun thing to think about, right? So the origin of the word weird, we have the word weird, W-E-I-R-D, and it means something kind of, like strange, abnormal. But the word comes from, I think it's Anglo-Saxon, weird, W-Y-R-D, which is your path. Which I think is so gorgeous, right? Because it gets to the heart of it, like what makes us weird, what makes us abnormal. That's our path in this life. That's what we have to follow, because that's also what makes us unique and authentic. It's the thing that nobody else can offer.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the great legends of our times, they've all been different. They don't follow the same path. That's why they become legends. For us that just mark time in life and we wonder why we've never accomplished anything great, well, that's the reason. I don't think you can have it both ways. Like Tom and I, for 20 years, have stepped out of normal, if there's any such thing. And I don't know, Tom, we've done probably thousands of presentations in libraries and ghost hunting and mediums and everything else. And I have never regretted one moment of it. My family, my children, my grandchildren talk to me about this all the time. So I don't hide it from my neighbors or anyone else, because I'll tell you very frankly, I'm very proud of it. And people like Emily and the Reverend Mary and mediums, I'm just so proud to know those people. I think it's a gift just to know them.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
It's a gift to know you.
And know people like the people we know and the work that they do and the work they do to help others isn't. I mean, you and I spend a lot of time, Bob, helping others collectively. The people these people collect and help out are just as needed to help, and we need more people in the field that know what they're doing. Here's the key, though, that know what they're doing, like our guests tonight.
Yeah, and a few minutes ago, Emily said something that I picked up on. She said you can get the book free. It's interesting to me how, it shows, Emily, that what you care about is extending knowledge and education versus making money. And I think sometimes even our listeners and the people that we address in meetings and presentations don't appreciate that. But that's a huge step to do, to sacrifice so that people can learn. So I admire you for that.
Thank you. And I think every little thing that we do like this, right? Every presentation given for free, every bit of content for free. It's an investment, I think, in a future where we will be able to support ourselves with our soul work, with our passion work. Right now, I'm not there yet. I think, but I have faith that I'll get there because we're building this future together where we find collectively value in this work.
Well, Tom and I do a lot of fundraising for historical societies. And frankly, I apologize because I thought you were from New Jersey. When I talked to Tom, that's why I told him. I didn't realize you were in Manchester, New Hampshire. So what we'd like to do is to talk offline with you and possibly have you come to one of the old meeting houses that we fundraise for and speak to our invited guests if you'd be willing to do that.
I'd love that. That would be my pleasure.
Okay, so we put you down there and we'll talk about that offline moving forward.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm so delighted to hear you're in Manchester. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Tom and I have had the pleasure of hanging out at a few events together.
Yeah, sounds great.
Oh,
What do you think, Tom?
well, yeah, we can hang out in a few events.
Yeah.
We're also working on a brand new, well, it's not brand new, but a resurgence of the New England the New England, I can't even speak right now. The Paracon that I put together years ago. We're redoing that. We're bringing it back from the ashes the beginning of next year.
Okay.
We're working on a location somewhere in Middlesex County, which isn't too far from Manchester.
Right.
I mean, maybe 40 minutes.
Yeah.
'Cause I was just up in Manchester this weekend too. This past week, I should say, when we went up the Manchester group of us to have some dinner at a very fancy it's got gold all over the place for dinner.
Hey.
You can guess where that was.
Where was it? At the Capitol? No, where were you?
A place with a lot of gold.
A place with a lot of gold in Manchester, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
A lot of gold.
Yeah, the Golden Corral.
Fair enough. Okay.
Okay, you got me.
You like that one?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, there you go. Well, of course, Tom, Manchester, New Hampshire, back pre-Civil War days, was the capital of New Hampshire. And the Queen City is really bigger than Concord. And the capital was moved to Concord because they were afraid Manchester was too close to Massachusetts and that they would attack the capital at some point. So they moved it to Concord. But if you really know New Hampshire, Manchester is a larger city than Concord is.
No.
Yeah. How long have you been in Concord, Emily? I mean, in Manchester.
Yeah, so I grew up in Manchester. I spent the last decade plus living in Massachusetts, but I've just moved back. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Manchester's a great town.
It is. There's a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, they've really done a lot of nice things in Manchester over the last few years.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be here, definitely.
Yeah. Well, listen, Emily, this has been a great podcast. We're so pleased to have had you on, and we really feel. I think, Tom, I speak for you, and I say I think we have a new friend that we need to network with some of our other friends.
I'd be so grateful. It's been such a delight to speak to you both, and I so appreciate what you're doing for the community. I really appreciate you, amplifying the voices of people who are doing the hard things.
Well, we thank you for that. And listen, we're a podcast that offers we call it stress-free, judgment-free voice to the paranormal community. So as you run into people, we entertain bringing them on. We really have no discrimination as to what their gift is to talk about. We do UFOs, we do abductees, we do mediums, we've done it all. So it's important for us to let the paranormal community know that we're offering a voice for them to come on and tell it. And, without being challenged. One of the things we tend to do because of the internet, Emily, is that you post something on the internet, next thing you get 5 people disagreeing and calling you names and everything else. And to me, it's such a waste of energy. This way, you get to tell your story uninterrupted, except for me and Tom, but uninterrupted and unchallenged. Because that's what we want our listeners to hear, is the pure side of each one of these gifts.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's so powerful, so empowering. I'm trying to reframe my use of the word powerful and have it be empowering.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Power from within, right? Empowering. So I think it is so empowering for folks who just have that open space to speak their truths. It's such a gift you're giving.
Yeah, it's so great. Well, Emily, thanks again for coming on, and let's talk offline and see if we can't get some networking going.
Sounds great. Thank you both so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Tom, you got closing comments?
I do. Well, thank you, Emily, very much for coming on today. And as Bob said earlier, we do have stuff going on coming up at the Sandown Meeting House. Essex County Ghost Project, along with Bob, has booked over, we're up to 30 events, plus I'm waiting on 4 more for the month of October alone. We got Trails and Sales the last 2 weekends of September. Maybe you can come down for that if you're around. Friday and Saturday night, they're free ghost hunts at Hilldale Cemetery in Haverhill, Massachusetts. So we got that coming up. So we got a lot of stuff coming up down the road real quick here. The season is almost upon us, Bob, isn't it?
It's almost here. We try to break, Emily, right around the holidays. Give everybody a break because, as you know, it's all volunteers that do this for us, and they're tired by the end of a good season. So we try to break a little bit around the holidays and then pick it up again maybe in February. But in the interim, Tom and I do a lot of fundraising, like I said, for different historical societies in the area. And one of the things we're coming up is in October is the Sandown train station.
Yeah, I don't have my calendar with me, Bob. I left it in the car. But yeah, we have the Sandown train station.
We've got another one coming up at the Sandown Meeting House in September. We would love to have you there as our guest. Even if you choose not to speak, that's okay. But Tom and I would love to have you at that event as our guest.
It'd be my great privilege.
Yeah, Red.
And other than that, we had a great show today. We are now broadcasting from the new James R. Ross Memorial Studios, high above Bell Towers in historic Lawrence, Massachusetts. Below us, where the great Jersey restaurant is. So we're now in a new location. Lawrence Community Access TV is a nonprofit, and we're always looking for donations. If you're interested and you want to keep up listening to this great show and keep this show going, we could use your help. And you can send us a donation to 60 Lawrence Community Access TV, 60 Island Street, Lawrence, Mass. 01840. Because without the donations, it's hard to keep everything going when you're a nonprofit. So just think about that. Think about the great times we got coming up. We got a lot of great events coming up. And Emily, one last time is give out your information, and so our great listeners all across the world can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So my email address. So my name is Emily Valario, Emily. Last Valario, V as in Victor, Allario. And if you are in the northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire area and are looking for a community, you feel like you have a soul gift that you'd like to nurture in a community, definitely feel free to send me an email. And we meet once a month in person. And it's Emily, Emily, at witchyandwell.com. All are welcome. It's a free space. Just come curious and compassionate and open-minded.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you very much.
And I will sign with you. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to have you join us for our next meeting or an upcoming meeting.
I will send you an email tomorrow. I'm also going to send you a copy of the program. I will spell this out again, but feel free to use this any way you choose. It's your show. This is not copyrighted by Tom and I or anything like that. So you feel free to use it anytime.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Pleasure. It was very nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, Emily, and have a great evening. And Bob, we've come to another end of a great show, haven't we?
They you know what? They end too quick, don't they?
Yes, they do, actually. But we had a great show tonight. We had some fun. Things were very interesting guests, very well-versed guests, just like all our other guests. We have some guests lined up right through October now, don't we, Bob? So that's good.
We do. Yeah. We're just for our listeners that want to come on and tell the story. We're actually booked through October right now, and we're booking into early November. So if you want on the program or you know somebody that does, send me an email at paranormalnh@yahoo.com, and I'll get back to you and we'll book you. We're not certainly are going to continue to book through November and December, but with the holidays, there'll be some Mondays that we may not be broadcasting.
It might be a Tuesday.
Send me an email. I'm happy to send you out the schedule and look for a date to get you in. So, and it doesn't matter if you're a Bigfoot investigator, if you're a dogman investigator, mediums, psychics, whatever you do in the world of paranormal, we're willing to air this and have you tell your story. So we look forward to it.
Yes, we do. Well, thank you, Bob. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We're high above the James R. Ross Memorial Studios in historic Lawrence, Massachusetts. So thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank people from our listeners in Florida, California, Canada, England, wherever you're at tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the paranormal. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.